Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. There's a lot going on in this prelim. You're gonna love it. From Facebook friends with benefits, too much tequila, just a dash of pepper spray, and no bouquets of flowers. And speaking of bouquets of flowers, the last time I actually got a bouquet of flowers, they made an appearance in my intro. Kind of like my Judge Boyd moment. But it's been a bit. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
All right, Mr. Graff is here on behalf of the defendant and Mr. Atwood for the people. So this is the date for preliminary examination. Are both sides ready to begin?
We are. There's something like on the record before we start.
Okay, go ahead.
People have made an offer to Mr. Sims whereby he could plead to a one-year misdemeanor if that offer is accepted in district court and without holding preliminary examination. That offer is withdrawn if he conducts the preliminary examination and this matter proceeds to circuit court. Mr. Sims is aware of that offer and he intends to decline that invitation and proceed with preliminary examination knowing that that offer will be forfeited.
Okay. Anything else we need to take up before we get started?
No, thank you.
Then Mr. Atwood, call your first witness.
Hey, Grant, first up we have Haley Matty.
Ma'am, are you here for this case? No? Just observing, okay. So we had 3 other pleas and I don't
That's for the
remember.
magistrate. One of them actually was a mistake. They're not ours.
Okay,
You're up there.
Okay.
all right,
Morning, Your Honor.
good morning. If I could have you please raise your right hand. Swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, put your hand down, and if you could please start by telling us your first and last name and spell them. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Atwood.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Haley.
Good morning.
Could you start by telling me whether or not you know the defendant in this case, Grant Sims?
If I know him?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how is it that you know the defendant?
We met on Facebook.
You recall approximately when you would have met him on Facebook?
My memory is really not good. I can't exactly tell you for sure
Okay.
how many weeks that we've known each other.
Okay, but it's a matter of weeks, not months? Or do you think it has been months?
It's been over a month,
Okay.
but not multiple months.
At some point after you met him on Facebook, did you interact with him in person?
Well, we first spoke on Facebook for a little while, and then eventually we met in person.
And do you recall where that?
I invited him to my apartment.
All right. Do you recall approximately when that would have been?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay,
It's been, I can't tell you.
okay. So,
I'd have to look at my phone or something and roll it back. I don't know.
and again, I'm not asking for exact dates, but a few weeks ago, a month ago,
Like maybe a month and a half ago.
and how many times do you think you saw the defendant in person?
It was like 3 or 4 times. I think 3.
And do you remember where each of those contacts occurred?
Yeah. I think I saw him 4 times. He was over at my place 3. And then there was a time that I went and picked him up from his place and gave him a ride to the bank.
Were the two of you ever romantic with each other?
Yes.
And when I say romantic, were you ever intimate with each
We
other?
were intimate twice.
Where did those contacts occur?
My house or my apartment in my room.
Did the defendant ever give you gifts or flowers or anything like that?
You know, he'd buy stuff for us to drink and stuff, and he'd cover it. So,
Did he ever give you flowers?
no.
Never gave you flowers?
No.
What was your intent in beginning this relationship with the defendant?
So, I got out of a relationship about like 3 months ago, and I really wasn't looking to date anybody yet, because I'm still going through the issues that I was dealing with prior. but I started getting to know him. I kind of just had like a instant kind of attraction, I guess, and we both believed in a lot of the same things, and a lot of talk, you know, we could talk for a long time, and so I was looking to become a better friend with him, and you know, like kind of like a friends with benefits thing. At first, I mean, it was not that much time went by, so there wasn't a lot of time for it to become much.
Was that a possibility in your mind that it would develop into a more significant relationship?
I was actually kind of nervous
Oh,
about
hang
that.
on, there's an objection. What's your objection, Mr. Graff?
It calls for speculation. I mean, I was just saying, what could it have become? It's anything, become anything. Obviously, that's an element of the crime, is
Okay.
dating relationship, so we.
Mr. Response, Mr.
Well, it's not
Atwood?
speculation at all if it's in her mind, Your Honor. It's her intent in continuing the relationship. She's not speculating because it's what she thought at the time. It's how she thought of their relationship is my question.
Okay, so I'm questioning the relevance of this, but I'll let you go ahead and answer the question. Because I agree with Mr. Atwood, it's not calling for speculation about what's gonna happen, just what she was thinking. So,
And maybe I'll rephrase that, Your Honor.
okay, go
Did
ahead.
you consider him to be more than just a typical friend?
Yeah,
Okay. I want to draw your attention back now to March 1st of this year. Was that a day that the defendant came to your residence? The last time you saw him?
maybe. Like I said, I don't have any dates, so I might be lying if I.
Let me ask it this way. I want to ask you about the last time you saw him. Do you remember that day?
I remember the day, I just don't know what day it was.
And that's not my question. Do you remember him the last time you saw him?
Yes,
Do you remember having?
yes, I do.
Could you tell us about that day and how it ended?
Okay, I'll try my best. So we were drinking and hanging out. He brought his laundry over because he had no way of doing it, so I just told him to bring it over. So we had a couple bags and whatnot. And we ended up going to the beverage company and we got some tequila and we're making drinks. And I maybe had one drink, you know, they did a breathalyzer and I was under the legal limit. But long story short, we ended up going into my bedroom and we attempted to have sex. With him being drunk, he couldn't perform, so he started putting me down about it and basically degrading me, even though I was sober enough to know that it was not my fault at all. Like that had nothing to do with me, but I felt uncomfortable, so I got up out of the bed and I started getting dressed. And as I was getting dressed, I told him that this was a big mistake and that I didn't deserve to be treated that way and that he needed to leave, like right then. So I walked out of the bedroom trying to distance myself from him. And so I started putting his bags by the door and he comes out of my room and he starts accusing me of putting something in his bags. I have no idea what he meant by that. Like I was just trying to get his stuff together, get him out quicker because I knew it was escalating and the way he was talking and acting, you know, sporadically. I saw what he could turn into when he was drinking and I didn't want anything more to do with him. I just wanted him to leave.
Okay.
I should never have to feel that way in my home. He started getting more and more in my face and chest bumping me. And then so I ended up emptying his bags too. For one, when he accused me of putting something in there, I said, well, let's go through it together then, because I don't know what you're talking about, but I didn't put nothing in your bags. Then he got mad for dumping his bags. So it was like, I couldn't win. I just wanted the guy to leave. I just wanted to forget it all happened. Mark it off as like, our relationship was not gonna progress that way after I saw that. I have PTSD, like about 11 years ago. The person I had kids with back then, he ended up putting me in the hospital. So I have I have mental issues. And I called Izzy. She's one of my only like female friends that are supportive. She lives under me, in the apartment below me. And I called her and said, I need you to help me get this guy out of my apartment. And I don't want it to escalate anymore. So she came up and she saw that he was, you know, reaching for me. He was in my freaking personal space still, and so she pepper sprayed him. And then he finally stumbled out of my apartment. At that point, a couple of the other neighbors was listening to everything that happened, which they also spoke with the police that night too. Brenda and her daughter Jennifer. And then, so the guy, Grant, ends up calling the cops. I didn't call the cops, Izzy didn't call the cops. I just wanted the guy to leave.
Okay.
That's it.
When you say, going back to the chest bumping, was that, which part of his body, was it his chest contacting your
Yeah,
chest?
yeah, I don't know if he was like purposely trying to do that, but he was so upset that he was just in my face.
And in doing that, did he make physical contact with you?
Yes, he did not hit or punch me though, but I was afraid that that's what that was going to turn into.
Is
That's
that,
why I called for help from my friend, because I don't want to be involved, sorry.
no, you're fine. Is that what was going through your head in that moment?
That he was
might-
gonna, yeah,
Okay.
I've seen it happen before.
All right, and when you indicated he was reaching and grabbing for you, could you tell us about that?
He was just upset, I don't know,
What was he trying to grab?
me.
What part?
And he was getting in my face, calling me names, and
And what part of your body was he trying to grab?
he was just trying to grab at me.
Like the way you indicated, like shoulders or
Yeah, cause
chest?
I guess he was offended that I dumped his bag out after he told me that I put something in it, which I never did that.
Okay,
I was, what would I put in there?
sure. This apartment complex, what is the address of that apartment? All right, and that's in Grand Traverse County?
Yep.
And do you see the defendant in the courtroom?
Yes,
Could you point to him and tell me what color jacket he's wearing?
black,
Your Honor, I'd ask the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant as being present today.
It will.
And I have nothing further, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Graff, cross-examination.
Thank you. Matt, wait, you were asked how you met Mr. Sims. You said you met him on Facebook, is that correct? Yes, yes, no, sir.
yes, I'm sorry, he, sent me a friend request, and I accepted it.
Okay, so you didn't know him prior to this
No.
communication on Facebook, okay. And so after having this initial contact, you guys communicated on Facebook?
Did we talk on Facebook?
Yes.
Yeah, through Messenger, Facebook Messenger.
And when asked when this happened, you said you didn't remember how long you had known Mr. Sims, is that correct?
No, cause, I mean, ever something like that occurs, and then I got something in the mail saying that I didn't have to show up to court. And I check marked that, and I just was trying to move on, and my memory isn't the greatest with like dates, amount of days, I guess I maybe should have looked back before I came in here.
That's fine.
I didn't think it was,
You spoke to the police on the night of this incident, correct?
yes,
If you would have told the police you met him about a week before, would that probably be pretty accurate?
yeah,
And so you met.
maybe a little over a week, but yeah.
So you met Mr. Sims about a week before this
Uh,
on Facebook, didn't know him beforehand, correct?
nope,
And at some point, you testified you saw him approximately 3 to 4 times.
yep, 3 times he came over, and then the other time I gave him a ride.
And so you met 3 or 4 times. Did you ever go out to eat?
No,
Did you ever go to a movie?
no,
Did you ever do any activities together, or you just strictly came over to your house 3 times and you dropped him off once?
right, that's it, we didn't go anywhere else,
And Mr. Atwood asked you if he ever bought you anything like flowers or gifts. He didn't do that, did he?
no,
Simply, he bought alcohol and you guys shared alcohol
Yeah.
together, correct?
yes,
And during this week period, I think you indicated you'd been intimate approximately 2 times.
yes.
How often did you guys communicate during this week or so?
On and off throughout the day, like sometimes we just back and forth, texting.
What's Grant's middle name?
Andrew?
And do you know his date of birth?
No, I don't remember. I don't know.
During this week, did you guys share some historical data about yourselves? Talk about your family and your past?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you ever introduce him to any of your family or friends?
no,
And did he ever introduce you to any family or friends?
no,
Now, you recall being interviewed by Officer Copenhaver, correct?
Yep.
And did you recall telling him that you guys are figuring out where this is going?
yeah,
Okay. And so after about a week, you were still figuring out what this was, right?
even is, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't call him your boyfriend?
No,
Okay. And in fact, you testified when you called Izzy, you said, I need to get this guy out of my apartment,
What I
correct?
said, yeah,
And so you didn't even call him your boyfriend, you said this guy, he's just some guy, correct?
right. She knew who I was talking about because I had introduced them before, but the way I worded it, yeah, I said, I need to get this guy out of my apartment.
And so eventually, you said that you guys went to become intimate again, correct?
Mhm.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. And so when you said 2 times, would this have been the second or the third time?
Second,
That would have been the second time.
yeah,
So you actually only were intimate one time, you weren't able to get to the second time, is that correct?
intimate one full time, and then the second we attempted to start it, but it didn't go far
Okay.
at all, so,
And during this period of time, apparently an argument started?
yes,
Okay, and Mr. Sims, you said became upset with you?
yes,
Okay, and then at that point in time, you told him to leave, correct?
yes,
You guys weren't gonna talk it out, correct?
correct,
You said, that's it,
I was done. Hmm.
you weren't boyfriend, girlfriend, so it was just, it's easy to say goodbye.
Exactly,
Okay, okay. You hadn't reached that stage of being boyfriend, girlfriend.
no,
And so at this point in time, you said that Mr. Sims got upset,
yes,
and what did he do?
well, because he was drunk, that's what I'm assuming was the reason that he couldn't get hard and perform, so he started blaming me like it was my fault, that I wasn't doing something right, and
Okay.
and I didn't stay in the room long, because I didn't like how he was treating me. And I just wanted to distance myself from him and have him leave, and that's it.
Did you see the side of Grant like that before?
No,
You'd only known him for about a week, so didn't really know a lot about him, right?
right,
At that point, you made the decision, this isn't somebody that I want to consider being in a relationship with. It's
Exactly.
really not enough, it's easy to split ways, correct?
exactly,
And so at that point in time, you were arguing, correct?
yeah,
Did you ever share with him the experiences you testified to about 11 years ago that you've been assaulted?
yes,
He did.
yeah,
So he was aware of that?
yeah, yes.
And
sorry.
so you guys were arguing and you mentioned, I think you used the word chest bump? Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay, and so his chest did touch you?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall being interviewed by Officer Copenhaver that night, indicating that he got really close?
Yeah.
He didn't happen to bump chest, he just got really close?
yeah,
And so it'd be more accurate that night when you said he didn't.
well,
actually-
I did feel his body come in contact with mine, but it wasn't like I don't know,
Okay, that's fine. And so you guys were in a heated argument, correct?
yes,
Okay, so people are showing emotions, waving hands.
yes.
Were you yelling back, responding?
His
"Get
body
out of my
language
apartment"?
showed that he was drunk and upset.
Were you responding and saying, get out of my apartment?
Yes, over and over and over,
Some choice words?
over and over and over.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so you both were in this heated argument, we'll call it. Okay. And do you know when your chest potentially bumped, was this because Grant came in at you? Was it you came in at him? Was it just both you guys kind of in the moment?
I was trying to stand away from him. Okay, I was like backed up by my fridge in the kitchen, and the door's over here, his bags are there, and it didn't matter. Like, all he had to do was leave. All I was I probably said that like 20-something times, but he just kept getting in my face, and I didn't even do anything. Okay, like, I'm a very kind person, and
No one's saying you're not, man. If you can just answer.
I just wanted,
Oh,
If you can just
please,
answer my
please
question.
answer the
I'm sorry.
attorney's question.
The question was, you both were engaged in a
Uh-huh.
pretty loud argument, correct?
yes,
Okay, and during this argument, you both were probably filling your arms and yelling, correct?
I was not coming at him.
I didn't ask if you're coming out,
Okay.
you're saying we're using your arms and talking with emotion.
Maybe,
Okay, and so when you touched chests, could you tell whether or not this is something that Grant tried to come in and bump you, or does it just happen to be?
it just happened,
It just happened?
yes,
Okay,
because of the escalating,
okay.
that I assume it just happened because he was jumping into my face.
Okay, and so you got close during this heated argument, and at that point in time, what happened?
What do you mean?
Did you push him? Is that when you
No.
called Izzy or what happened?
I did not ever put my hands on Grant
Okay.
at all.
And so how many times did your chest touch during this argument? Just the one time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause Izzy came up pretty quick after that.
Okay, and so that's when you called Izzy and said, get this guy out of my apartment.
I need you to help me get this guy out of my apartment.
And Izzy showed up. Did she come in the apartment? Was this outside of the apartment?
She walked into the apartment.
Okay, and so at this point in time, Izzy confronts Grant inside your apartment?
Yes.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then he stumbled out and I started putting his bags outside the door. He went out there and sat on the bench. There's a bench next to the elevator and that's where he was sitting. And then he called the cops on himself.
Well, at some point, didn't Izzy pepper spray him?
Yes.
Did that happen inside your apartment?
Yeah, it happened inside my apartment. As he came up, as soon as he came up, she pepper sprayed him. And then he stumbles out. We start putting his bags out there to get him out of my apartment. Then he ended up sitting on the bench, called the cops.
Now, when Izzy pepper sprayed him, was he still in your face? Was he far enough away from you so you didn't get pepper spray on you?
I got pepper spray on me.
You did?
Yes.
Okay,
And yeah, he was in my face when she did that.
okay. And after eating pepper spray, what did Grant do? Did he push anybody, swing, or did he just go down?
He just stumbled out.
Okay. And so you said that Grant went out and he sat on a bench, correct?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
called the police, correct?
Yes, he called the police.
Okay. Do you have like a ring door camera or anything like that? Or,
Downstairs, when you first walk into the building, there's in between a set of doors, there's a thing you can beep into another apartment and it has a voice thing. And the cameras are right there.
okay, you don't have like one on your door?
Not on the second floor. They don't have them, just, no.
Are there security cameras in this apartment complex?
Yes, but only at the entrances or exits.
Okay. Do you recall how much you had to drink that night?
Like a drink and a half.
And then you mentioned that you have some memory problems from some other issues you're dealing with, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and so your memory isn't that great of what happened?
it's not.
Okay, and so if you would have said something that night, it might be a little more accurate than what you're saying later. Is that fair?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
If you would have said something that night, would that be maybe possibly more accurate than something you might say later?
I was not feeling the drinks.
I wasn't accusing you of being intoxicated, Stanley. What I'm asking you is, because of your memory issues, is it fair to say that maybe something you said on the night that the police showed up might be more accurate than something you might say 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later?
Naturally, yeah, it's possible.
Have you ever been over to Grant's house?
Not in this place, but I pulled up pretty close to where his tent is.
So that'll be the one time when you picked him up?
Yeah,
And if Grant, you said he came over your house 3 times?
yes.
Would Grant call and ask you if he could come over, or is it something you just show up uninvited, or you could just show up, did he have a key?
I knew he was on his way. We talked about it and decided to hang out, and then he'd come over and let me know when he was coming in close to the building, and I could beep him in or come down and let him in.
It's good, you guys had just met, so it wasn't like you just showed up at people's apartments, correct?
Right, right.
1 minute.
Go ahead.
I have no further questions now.
Any redirect, Mr. Atwood?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you may step down, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And any additional evidence or witnesses?
One
Mr.
more
Atwood?
witness, Your Honor, the Israel Martinez.
Yep.
Afternoon.
Good morning, ma'am.
Is it morning still? I was up at 4.
If you could start by raising your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely.
Okay, you can put your hand down and please start by telling us your first and last names and spell them both. Okay, thank you. Mr. Atwood.
Thank you, Your Honor. And good afternoon, Israel. Could you tell us first whether or not you know the victim in this case, Kaylee?
Absolutely.
How do you know Kaylee?
She's my upstairs neighbor and 3 times become a friend.
All right. And I want to draw your attention back to March 1st of this year, 2025. Do you recall an incident involving Kaylee and a man?
Absolutely.
Could you tell us how you became involved in that situation?
She called me, shaking and in terror, crying.
What did you do in response to that call from her?
Directly headed to her apartment to assist.
And when you got there, did you get inside the apartment somehow, or was it outside?
Yes, she opened the door for me.
What did you see after she opened the door?
I saw the gentleman sitting to your left, second seat over, by the name of Grant, I believe. He was, I would say, verbally attacking her excessively in her own home. She, at the time, was trying to frantically gather a bunch of his things that were strewn about, toss them into a bag so that she could assist him out. He was refusing to leave. So like at one point when she was trying to gather his things to put them in a bag, and she kept looking up at me, telling me what was going on. And at some point, Grant had started reaching for her. So my response, rather than go into a physical altercation, was to draw my pepper spray and unleash it on him.
When you say that he was reaching for her, could you describe where they were and what he was reaching for specifically?
He was reaching for her. She was literally, I wish this was video labeled. She was bending down, looking up at me, reaching his things and trying to grab his stuff, put it back in the bags, while he was screaming at her, screaming at me. And literally his hands were like this and reaching for her, like towards at least her waist area, if not her shoulders, both hands.
Okay.
Which was, I'm sorry, that's a bear move, that's an attack.
And so prior to him actually making contact is when you deployed the pepper spray?
I'm not gonna let him hit her in front of me, yes.
Okay. What did he do in response to being hit with pepper spray?
Immediately started crying, sneezing, screaming help, wanting to leave pretty quickly after that.
Okay, all right. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Grant.
Hey, Connor. Mr. Martinez, you were invited in the apartment, the door's open for you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and at that point in time, where was Grant?
He was standing behind Kaylee.
And you mentioned that his Matley was then picking up his belongings, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then Grant was reaching towards where she was as well as his belongings, correct? Because she's standing over his belongings?
He was not reaching for his belongings because initially he was not wanting to leave. He was trying to get her from his belongings.
Okay. Okay. And so about how far was Grant from his Matley when you sprayed him?
I would say that within half a second he would have touched her.
Okay. How far apart were they, is my question, I'm sorry.
Less than feet? Less than a foot?
Less than a foot, okay. And at that point in time, you said Grant didn't engage, he didn't push, shove, punch, he cried and sneezed and got out the door, is that correct?
No, that was after I sprayed him.
That was my question, I'm sorry, it was poorly worded. After he was sprayed, he didn't engage any longer, he didn't try to touch anybody, he got out of the apartment, is that correct?
Essentially, yes, I had to throw his things out into the hallway, and then he was more willing to leave while he was screaming and wanting people to call 911. So at some point I proceeded to put his belongings into the elevator. And so then at some point, like he had gone downstairs and I was inside the apartment with Kaylee trying to console her. Some time had passed, so I said, we'll come to my apartment, let's have some tea to calm her down. And when we went downstairs, he was still downstairs. And still, I don't know what his game plan was at that point. He doesn't live there. So I started pushing his belongings further out the door to encourage him to leave. At some point, the police had arrived, and I don't know where they came from because neither Kaylee or I had called, but the police did arrive, and started, of course, asking questions, so.
And so after Grant was outside, though, he didn't try to come back in the apartment, is that correct?
At first, he tried convincing the police officers, I believe, to let him back in the apartment at some point, but they.
That wasn't my question. My question was after he was sprayed, he didn't try to come back in the apartment, is that correct?
No, I was in the way.
And the police arrived, do you recall? I've been calling him officer, now it's Detective Copenhaver arriving.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, you know they're recording.
Oh, yes,
Okay, and you saw him when he came in the door, correct?
of course. How can you miss him?
Were you very cooperative with the detective at that point?
As much as I could be, yes.
Were you in a state of excitement?
Well, of course. I just saw my friend almost get attacked by a man in her own home.
Would you say you were cooperative with the detective?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Did he have to tell you several times to put down the pepper spray and to comply with his commands and listen to his questions?
I wouldn't say several times. I think at first I was like a little confused, a little bit out, but as soon as he said it, I literally threw him to the floor. There was no, I mean, I'm not gonna fight a cop.
Okay.
That's what pepper spray is for.
Okay. One second.
Take your time.
I got a question.
Anything else for you, Mr. Atwood?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, you may step down, ma'am. Any additional evidence or witnesses,
No.
Mr. Atwood?
No, Your
Anything
Honor.
for the defense today, Mr.
No,
Graff?
thank you.
Then motion, Mr. Atwood?
Your Honor, we would move for bind over on the charge count of domestic
Sir?
violence.
I just don't want.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
You're working.
there you go. Move for bind over on the charge count, Your Honor. Obviously, by the questioning here, I think that domestic relationship is, if not the issue, certainly a major issue. Turning to the jury instruction defines domestic or dating relationship as frequent intimate association, primarily characterized by the expectation of affectional involvement. In this case, the relationship was a short one, but it was frequent in its engagements. It was a week or two between the time of associating via Facebook to meeting in person. Sounds like there were several contacts by Facebook before meeting in person. And then there were 4 encounters in person between the defendant and the victim. 2 of those encounters involved sexual relations between the two. Obviously, that takes this beyond the business or social context defined in the jury instruction. It is an intimate association between these individuals, characterized by the expectation of affectional involvement. Sounds like it was early on in the dating relationship, but it was a relationship that the victim expected could move into that realm if given the opportunity. Obviously, it didn't given the assault here, but certainly I think it qualifies under the jury instruction. Regarding the assault, we have physical contact through the chest bumping. We have physical contact, at least attempted, observed by the eyewitness, the defendant attempting to grab the victim. So I think that certainly could qualify, does qualify as an intent to commit a battery. The battery also would be satisfied by the chest bumping. And certainly this is assaultive behavior, and that the defendant placed the victim in fear of an immediate battery. She did indicate she was afraid of an immediate battery given his outlandish behavior, his screaming, his chest bumping, his getting into her space, apart from obviously the physical contact or attempt to commit physical contact. So I believe it satisfies the elements of the offense here, certainly by a probable cause standard. Thank you.
Mr. Graff, any response?
Yes, Your Honor, you're not opposed by number. I understand obviously the threshold is very low here, and ultimately probably the assaultive issue is more a question for the jury, but as Mr. Atwood indicated, what they need is a domestic relationship, and as he indicated, that's defined. A dating relationship means frequent, intimate association, primarily characterized by the expectation of affectional involvement. It does not include a casual relationship or an ordinary fraternization between 2 individuals in a business or social context. Here we have people that just met about a week before. They'd only seen each other 3 to 4 times. 3 times at her apartment, 1 time when she picked them up. They've been intimate 1 time. I don't know how we can describe that as being an intimate relationship characterized primarily by that. She indicated several times in my questioning, she was wondering where this might go. She identified him as this guy, never as her boyfriend, never as anything else. What her expectation may have, where this may have been going, I don't think we reached that point because again, the testimony was, I was still left trying to decide where this might be going. If we're talking about a week that all of a sudden one person can say, yeah, I'm dating that person, then we could have all types of stalking and other charges come before this court just because one party thought that they were dating. In fact, Your Honor, here's a lot of cases where someone said, I thought we were in a relationship. And you say, obviously, it was not a relationship because your view of this situation was completely different than what everyone else was seeing. And so I don't think the subjective intent is the driving force. But again, all of her testimony was, I was waiting to see where this is going. And so to say this was primarily characterized by an expectation of intimate behavior, they've been intimate 1 time. He never bought her gifts. He never bought her anything. The only thing that he bought was alcohol that they shared. They never met family or friends. They didn't know anything else about each other. And so we're all coming back from spring break. If we take this determination or this definition of a dating relationship, a lot of people go on spring break and engage in similar type behavior. When they come home, they're not saying, I'm dating that person I met when I was in Daytona. And they may have had more intimate relationships and more contacts. They come home, even if they saw them every day, they might be saying, I got to figure out where this is going. And that's exactly what she said. And so, Your Honor, I think at this point, it's a stretch to say that this was a dating relationship, given the definitions, but I think more importantly, her testimony. Again, I asked her several times, and I used the terms, were you about where this was going, what this was, and never once did she correct me and say we were dating, we were in a relationship. It was always this guy, where it might be going. We had just met, we were figuring things out. Those are all terms that say, I'm not in a dating relationship, quite to the contrary of what the definition is. And so I think even for a probable cause point, we have not reached the threshold of a dating relationship. Again, the issue about the potential assault is an issue for a jury. I understand that. But I don't believe there's been enough information to create a domestic relationship. And so I don't believe the court has enough information to bind over. I think the court would have to make a lot of expectations and leaps and create its own definition to say this was a dating relationship. And so I would ask the court to dismiss the charge. Obviously, if the people want to proceed on the assault charge, they could possibly do that. That's a separate issue for another day. But in relation to a domestic violence charge, I don't think the evidence is there.
All right, so the question is raised whether there was a domestic violence relationship in this case, and the definition of a dating relationship means frequent intimate association primarily characterized by the expectation of affectional involvement, and does not include a casual relationship or an ordinary fraternization between 2 individuals in a business or social context. So I'm actually maybe a little bit surprised that this is the argument, because to me, people conversing on Facebook, deciding to get together, they meet up 3 or 4 times according to Ms. Matley's testimony. They have sex on 2 occasions, and I do count the second time because they were at least attempting to engage in intercourse. That's dating to me. But you know, it's also a jury question. And so a jury might have a different opinion about that, but under a probable cause standard, I do find that there was in fact a dating relationship that was going on here. And again, I guess I haven't been on the dating scene in a long time, but to me, this was a dating 101. I would have certainly thought that they were dating. Mr. Graff argued that they hadn't been introduced to friends and family, but there was testimony that the defendant was introduced to Ms. Martinez. That's what Ms. Matley testified to. And the fact that she referred to the defendant as, I need to get this guy out of my apartment, and didn't call him her boyfriend. Well, this is in the heat of the moment. She's afraid of being assaulted. And I didn't find that to be very good evidence of whether they were in a dating relationship or not. So I do find that that element of the offense has been met. I also find that there was testimony by Ms. Matley that the defendant was grabbing at her in an offensive manner after that. This is after she asked him to leave multiple times. He also chest bumped her, maybe not intentionally, but he was close enough to her, within a foot, according to Ms. Martinez, and yelling at her that whether it was the grabbing or the chest bump, it was enough that Ms. Matley was afraid of being assaulted and was in fact battered. Ms. Martinez said she didn't see the defendant actually grab Ms. Matley, but she was concerned enough about the threat and the belief that an assault was going to happen in a half second if she didn't act to stop it, that she pulled out her pepper spray and pepper sprayed the defendant. So I do find that the assault and the battery element has been met as well, and there's no dispute about the other elements of the offense. Therefore, I will bind the defendant over on the domestic violence third offense. And is there anything we need to take up before I fill out the bind over order, Mr. Graff?
No, it's my knowledge.
Or for you, Mr. Atwood?
No, thank you.
Then the examination was held. The defendant is bound over to the circuit court on the charges in the complaint to appear next on April 24th at 8 a.m. for the circuit court pretrial conference. Bond will be continued. And if it's not already in the bond conditions, the defendant is not to have contact with Isal Martinez.
Can you spell the first name, please?
I think she said it was ISAL. Oh, Isra, ISRA. Or go within 500 feet of her residence or workplace.
Yards or feet? Usually yards.
Yards.
Yes.
Yards, okay. All right, so we'll go to the arraignment next, Mr. Graff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Waiver for review information, the charges, associated penalties, he also stand his rights. Yes, court to turn not guilty to his behalf, continue the bond as amended by the court to the pretrial on April 24th.
I will enter a not guilty plea on your behalf, and if there's nothing else, we're all set for this afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.